Welcome everyone to our Study Abroad podcast series. So, today we have Ashi, who is from Chennai, and now she is at University of Amsterdam. So, we'll be knowing about her journey from Chennai to Amsterdam. So, welcome Ashi to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, Ashi, so when was the very first time during your school time or like in your childhood you thought that maybe I should go abroad or there is something like abroad in this whole world?
It was something that was like always there. You hear about the big American dream, hear about those things. But more seriously was probably 10th grade, once board exams were over, and then you start thinking. It was actually my parents who were like, this could be a potential option. So we started exploring it. And then I think by the time I came to class 11th, like early 11th, so I would say around July-ish, I was like, okay, this is a potential option. I started searching colleges and stuff. So that's just how it happened for me.
Did you have any abroad trip in your childhood or like school days?
Yeah, a couple, just vacations, and my dad has lived abroad for a couple years, but nothing too influential, I would say. It was mostly just a choice and something, I was like, oh, this is an opportunity. It's something that I could do. We do have the resources for it, so I just explored it.
Any peer pressure as such, like your classmates are going or like schoolmates are going, anything like that?
I would say it was actually a little bit of the opposite because going abroad for bachelor's isn't something which is very common, especially in India. So it was actually quite the opposite. It was a little bit of like I want to do something different uh, that I was in, and this just seemed like a good option.
Okay, okay, sure, sure. And how many colleges did you consider applying to when you were deciding about this abroad journey?
So I applied to several colleges in multiple countries. I applied to UK and Netherlands. And then I applied to colleges within India as well. And I also appeared for the CUET examination. So through that, I applied to multiple colleges in India. Because even though I wanted to come abroad, I was very realistic about the entire situation and I needed my backups ready. Yeah.
Sure. So mostly Europe and India, not US, Canada, and Australia, like nothing like that.
No, I wasn't very keen on those countries. No.
Any specific reason why you eliminated some countries and chose some countries?
It was mainly the costs, and also a personal choice. I
You
was
had
just more.
any relative like friends in these colleges where you applied to?
Actually, no, I did not. I am the only one from my entire friend group, and my entire school, like my batch, to come to Europe. So I didn't have anyone. It was just a personal choice to not go to those countries. Plus, the costs are quite different, and this was the only place where it was more feasible for us. So this is the one I explored.
And you had to like go through some tests to appear for these applications. What were those?
Yeah, so I had to give an IELTS examination, which is basically an English examination. So I gave that, and then every college that especially UvA, University of Amsterdam, that where I am, they had their specific examinations, which were once you have passed and you've been given a conditional acceptance, I had to appear for more screenings, but it was just IELTS to begin with.
Okay. And once you are applying to all the colleges, you got offer from some of them, and U of A was like the obvious choice, or you had any confusion with any other option?
I had applied to 5 colleges in UK and I got accepted into all 5. In the Netherlands also I had applied to 3 colleges and I got accepted. But UvA seemed like the better choice for me just because I truly believe that, when you're moving out, you're not just going to the college, but you're also going to the country, to the city. So all of that has to be something that you kind of relate to, and it sits well with your expectations. And UFA was just that for me. So that's why I chose UFA.
Sure, sure. And you had to also like apply visa and like book accommodation, etc. So how was
Yeah.
the visa process in your case?
So visa was pretty straightforward. The university was quite helpful. They had given us a very clear list of the documents we had to submit, and then we just got an invitation from the immigration office, the Dutch immigration office. So I just had to go to the embassy. It was like a very short interview, and then I just received the visa. So that was not an hassle at all. Accommodation was definitely an issue. Netherlands has a housing crisis. But thankfully, in my case, the university I go to, they have a lottery system for housing. So if you do get picked in the lottery, then the university helps you find accommodation in the first year. And thankfully, in my case, I did get that lottery. So I got university accommodation for the first year, and then it was smooth right from there on.
Was there any scholarship offer or like some scholarship option that you got like before or after you joined?
No, not yet. No. I believe for bachelors, it is a little bit more tricky to get scholarships, especially in Europe. So that isn't something I had even prepared for. So yeah.
But usually, like once they people go there, they may do like some part-time job like RATA, etc. Those things you haven't explored yet as of now.
Yeah, so the thing is, I was here and I was just 18, moved out from home for the first time. So I wanted to spend my first year just figuring out the entire situation, living away and the studies part. So that's what I spent my first year doing. And now that I am a bit more organized and I know my things, I am looking at opportunities for part-time and internships as well.
And which flight did you book for yourself?
I came in an Emirates flight, but now I would suggest to anyone take Air India. It's just when you're booking your flights, you need to make sure of the baggage allowance. You need as much as you can get. And also, the connectivity, the timings, make sure you reach at a reasonable hour, and things like that. So yeah.
So this Emirates, when you're taking, it was like a first solo trip to Europe for you.
No, actually, my father came with me to Amsterdam. He was here for a week to help me set up and everything. So it was quite easy for me that way.
Any hiccups happened in the plane
No,
journey?
I had a 10-hour layover in Delhi, in Dubai, which wasn't the most comfortable one. But other than that, I mean, obviously, it is a very bittersweet flight ride when you're going away. The goodbyes are, that is when things start to feel real, way too real. But other than that, no, it was a smooth journey for me.
It was Chennai, Dubai, and Amsterdam.
It was Chennai, Delhi, Delhi, Dubai, Dubai, Amsterdam.
You didn't have any flight directly from Chennai, like Emirates or some other flight?
So if you take an international flight directly from Chennai, the costs are about 30 to 50,000 rupees extra. So Delhi just seemed like a better option for us. Plus we had some work there, so it all just made sense.
Oh, okay, okay. And like when you are mentioning this Air India thing, so that's like from Chennai directly to Amsterdam with a layover somewhere, or
No, that's again Chennai, Delhi, Delhi, Amsterdam. There is a Delhi Amsterdam direct flight now, which is great. It's the one that all Indian students in Amsterdam are now taking. Yeah.
sure, sure. And you arrived to Amsterdam like 1 week before, like 2, 3 weeks before your classes started.
So I came here about 2 weeks before classes, and we had a week of introduction before our classes. So I was a week before that. I came here a bit early because I wanted to set everything up, and my dad had a couple friends here that he wanted to meet, and there were things like our residence permit, social security, things like that that we had to figure out. So we needed the time. So I was here 2 weeks before my classes. Yeah.
And this was your first trip to Amsterdam, or you have been to Amsterdam
No,
before?
this was my first trip to Amsterdam. Yeah.
What were the few shocks or few surprises that you encountered once you landed in Amsterdam?
Oh, the culture shocks are crazy. It's something no one can prepare you for. I think the first thing we noticed, it was something that both my dad and I noticed, was a week of walking in Amsterdam, and the soles of our shoes were also not dirty. That's how less pollution and dust this country has. But other than that, obviously, the way people are, Dutch people are known to be direct. They're very polite and nice, but they're very direct, which we as Indians are not something very used to. So that was definitely a learning curve. Plus, I was living with Europeans, so that helped. And so, that again, with that was a little bit of a learning curve. So I think there were culture shocks. There were the directness was a culture shock. Tap water was a culture shock. But yeah, nothing too crazy.
Cycling on the road.
Oh yeah, that too. Oh my God, yes. Cycling in Amsterdam is not for beginners. I was so glad I was used to driving my Activa back home. So that experience had definitely helped me. But it again, I think the first few months I was here, I would judge my cycling by how many times I was screamed at by Dutch people. If it was less than two, I was good that day.
So you bought your cycle or you are just renting the cycles on the
No,
road?
I bought my cycle. I bought my cycle.
So you are
It
cycling
just
every day to college since the beginning, is it?
Yes, yes, yes. I actually enjoy biking now. So, yeah.
Okay, okay, sure. And how far is your accommodation from your college?
So, in the first year, my accommodation was about a 15 to 20-minute bike ride away. But that student accommodation only lasts a year. So then I had to move into a different accommodation this year. And now it's about a 30 to 45-minute bike ride away, 35 to 45-minute bike ride.
So after
Yeah.
this 30-minute or 15-minute bike ride, you don't have to do any separate exercise?
The Dutch people here are rather active. That's another like culture shock. They live a very active lifestyle. So looking at them, it inspired me a little bit. So yeah, I back last year I did go to the gym also after that, after all the biking. This year not yet, but hopefully soon.
What about the tallness of Dutch people? Did that shock you also?
Oh my God, yes, they're so tall. And also the Dutch people ride these mini cars. Um they're like tiny cars. It's these tiny EV cars that they drive for like more sustainable transportation and all of that. And you will see like the smallest car in the world driven by like a 7 foot tall man. And it's like one of the funniest sights ever.
Sure, sure, sure. So like two-seaters also, right? Like two-seater
I would
cars.
say they're like 1.5 seater cars. I don't think two full people can sit in them.
It's like maybe one adult and one kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or a dog. They have like their dog passenger.
How was your experience with calling professors by their first name?
Uh, Again, a learning curve. I am still learning. But I think now, after a year of being here, I am getting better at it. But then, like anytime I go back home, I call people by their first name and then they get shocked. Um, because in India, we call people older than us or like someone respectable by sir, and then I just take their first name instead. So there's always that culture shock. But it wasn't too crazy. I think as a person, have like a rather adapting nature. Even in India, I have moved multiple times. So, yeah, if I saw people do something a certain way, I just started picking that up.
Sure, sure. So because of the changes that you have seen in your childhood,
Yeah.
the future changes is not so much of a shock. You embrace the change.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
This is a positive side for your nature then, because you have seen changes. That's why you can embrace change. People who haven't seen changes and then they start seeing change for the first time, maybe they are a bit more shocked than the person who is
Definitely.
not.
Definitely. Even I was shocked, but my coping mechanism to shocks is just to accept it. And, this is why you do come outside your comfort zone. This is the reason you move. Or at least I moved abroad. It was to embrace these changes, to, see this different side of the world. So it just for me, it makes sense to accept them.
Sure, sure, sure. And the education system, the way people are taught, let's say in Amsterdam versus India or Netherlands versus India, what are the few key differences that you noticed?
So one biggest difference is the amount of self-study here. In India, I would say even in universities, there's a lot more spoon feeding. The attendance policy is a lot stricter. You have like a fixed time that you go to university. You can have more of a schedule there. India, you have classes say 9 to 12 or 9 to 5 or whatever. But that's not the case here. You have minimum classes. I think in the first year I had 16 or 24 hours of contact a week. Um, and in that also the lectures are not mandatory, the tutorials were mandatory. um so it's a lot of self motivation. You really have to motivate yourself to go. That was one. Other than that, I think with education here, the system itself, like the entire structure itself, is a little bit different. So I would say it's definitely more rigorous than in India, since we here have exams every month, and each exam counts to our GPA. So you have to always, stay on track and always be at par with the classes. And I would also, especially for my course, economics here is a lot more analytical than what I believe it is in certain courses in India. So, and since this university is a research university, you get to experience hands-on research. You get to, study these researches that the professors who are teaching you have conducted. So things like that are different than India for sure. Yeah.
What about the cooking, cleaning, laundry, etc., that you had to do by yourself?
Oh, that was again a learning curve, but thankfully I was like a little bit prepared. Since I had spoken to some alumni who had been living in Netherlands. So, I was like, any tips? So they were like, learn a little bit and come. So back home, I had done this class, this cooking class, which was catered to students going abroad, which I think helped me a lot. And then my mom at home had really made sure I knew how to do my laundry and I knew how to clean the toilets. So that period when your school had ended, when the board exams were over, to when you actually go, those 3 4 months, I spent at home preparing myself. And other than that, video calls now are a great solution. I was always on a call with my mom, which dal is which and how to cook. But yeah, it was a learning curve. Managing everything on your own is not easy. There were multiple breakdowns on the way, but you do learn eventually. And now I feel like I can manage it pretty well. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Was there any difficulty or like problems understanding the accent at times?
No, I think not. For me, accent was never an issue.
What about understanding the jokes?
That, yeah. Again, since Dutch people are so direct, and Europeans in general are rather direct, and I was living with them, so that was again a learning curve. But again, one thing I had made sure before coming here is I was rather open-minded. I knew that I am going to a foreign place, so I am the one who has to be more adjusting, more adapting. Um, so that mindset helped me a lot, and I had great flatmates who helped me understand the entire culture a lot better. I think we would sit at dinner for like 3 4 hours and just converse about anything and everything. And those conversations really opens you up and like opens your perspectives, because you haven't thought about things that way. And once you're already talking to Europeans at home, then university it just becomes a lot easier.
Sure, sure. And did you also choose some clubs to be part of while your first year education?
I was the part of a student panel, which was basically you go and you give your inputs about the courses and suggestions and stuff like that. Plus there were multiple events that were held for socializing. There were borals, as they call it here, networking events. So I did participate in a few of those.
What's your class size and what's the like the cultural diversity of your class?
I would say it is pretty diverse. Um, because my course is a pretty international course. So you would find Dutch people, but not that many. You would mostly find internationals. So with the lectures, I think it ranges anywhere from 500 to 1,000, but depends on how many people show up. Like during the summer, more people will show up. But during, as you know, as the weather gets worse, lesser people would show up to lectures. With tutorials, the class size again varies from 15 to 40 people, depending on the subject and the tutorials class size. Yeah.
What about like regular assignments? Is it like keeping you too much occupied, or is it okay? Okay.
It does keep you rather occupied, yes. But again, not a lot of them are mandatory assignments. So it's something that you have to motivate yourself to do. This is a mistake I made in like in the middle when, you know, when it was winters and you just don't feel like doing anything. You're very lethargic and you let loose. So that becomes an issue because no one's here coming after you that, oh, your assignment's not complete. Although, yes, the university in the first year does take a few steps. They're like, if you do all your assignments, you'll get a bonus point in your grade. But it's never like if you don't do it, you won't be able to do something. So yeah, the workload is pretty high. Honestly, it is something that one should be prepared for. But also that is what you're coming here for. It is study abroad. So
Sure.
yes.
And did you visit like neighborhood countries, places? How many countries so far?
Just two. Again, because I came here in September and October, November onwards, the weather starts getting really bad. So I didn't really feel like traveling. Plus, I went back home. And it is not the cheapest to travel in Europe, but hopefully I will travel more.
So, which is the other country you traveled? You said two.
I've been to Denmark and Sweden, and I've been to couple cities in the Netherlands. Yeah.
Okay, okay, sure, sure, sure. What about handling the first winter?
Oh, the first time I came here, I had these European friends of mine introduce me to something called as seasonal depression that happens here. And in my head, I thought, no, that is not real. How can weather make you sad? It's just white people think, I think they're weak. And then winter struck. The sunset would happen at 3:34 p.m. Everything would be gray and lonely, and that's when you start to realize, oh, they maybe they were real, they were real, like that seasonal depression was real. Yeah, so winter was not the best. It's very cold, it rains a lot, it's very windy in the Netherlands, but once it's over, you're like, yay. It's all happy again. But there are obviously things that you can do to make it better. We used to host these like movie nights in our house. We would like, consciously make an effort to go and socialize, even if it was just flatmates, just neighbors, because you don't really want to travel in the cold. So those were conscious efforts that you have to make. But other than that, yeah, it was not the best.
What about safety issues? Like any safety issues you faced or you are like made aware of?
So Netherlands is a pretty safe country to begin with. Anywhere you go, you are going to be physically very safe. Although since Amsterdam is a pretty touristy city, things like your belongings getting stolen is a very real possibility. Your bike getting stolen is a part of life here. That was something I was told by my RA on the first day when they asked me, "Have you bought a bike?" I was like, "No." They were like, "Buy a stolen bike." There's a cycle of the cycles in the Netherlands. You buy a stolen bike, your bike gets stolen, and then that bike is against sold. Like there's a whole cycle, so bike is going to get stolen, but physically um it's pretty safe. And plus, I think as a woman coming from India, you are on anyways a little extra cautious, so that is something that you must like always keep you should look out for, even though it's a safe country. But other than that, it's pretty okay.
So, did you also realize that because of this depressing winter or the seasonal depression, the sun is pretty much worshipped like a god, real god by them than in us?
I started worshipping the sun. I think the first date was 24 degrees after the entire winters. We all went out to the park and celebrated. I think the entire country celebrated that day. So yeah, the sun is pretty appreciated here.
Yeah, and then that's the time when the days are longer, so they can do more
Yeah.
stuff compared to the
You
winters
can.
when they have to do the other way around.
That is another culture shock. Imagine getting the sun setting at 10:30. Your entire schedule gets messed up. You're like, when am I supposed to eat dinner? Because you're used to eating dinner in the dark.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I think we are used to the sunrise and sunset, like breakfast at the sunrise and dinner at the sunset, maybe or
Yeah,
near to that. And then when you go to
yeah,
these countries, then your whole routine gets messed up if you follow the sun.
exactly. Exactly.
So that's why I think the sun is worshipped a lot there.
Probably, yeah.
Sure, sure. And what are your future goals in next few years?
So firstly, I want to do my master's, mostly in the Netherlands or somewhere again in Europe. And then I'm keeping my options open. Maybe I would dabble into corporate or more research work. The degree that I'm doing allows me to have multiple opportunities and multiple options open, which is again a reason I chose this particular degree. So for now, it's just bachelor's, master's. I want to get the academics done first. Yeah,
The masters will be like 1 year masters you are aiming for, or 2 year?
1 year.
So 3 year bachelor's, 1 year masters, is that the timeline?
Yeah, more or less, yes.
So 4 years you are done with like pretty much the basic education.
Basic education, yes, and then we'll see. Maybe I can dabble into some more research work or corporate or policy. We'll see.
Sure, sure, sure. Okay, coming to the very last question now, what advice would you give to younger yourself or the aspirants who are back in India who might be considering U of A as an option or in general study abroad as an option for their bachelor's?
The first thing is research. Research as much as you can. The internet is a great, great source, and I think you should, really make the most out of it. Talk to people. People always want to help you, but you just need to ask. People are nice. So be polite, conduct yourself well, and ask for help when you need it. We as human beings are social animals. We are meant to be interdependent. So don't try to do everything on your own. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Try to find people, try to network with people before coming here. I think LinkedIn and Instagram are great sources to do that. You can, just type the university that you're looking at and, cold message someone just like, hey, I want to talk to you. And people are more than ready to help you. So I think that would be definitely one. And another key thing, just be open to experiences, be open to change yourself and to adapt, because you are going out of your comfort zone. You are going to a different country. So you are the new one there. So you should be to open to the newness. And I think that should be enough. Again, be safe, take smart, responsible decisions. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Ashi, for your time and sharing your insights and experience with our audience. And we hope our audience would have learned something from this. Once
Thank
we
you. Thank
finish
you for
this,
having me here.
yeah, we'll be putting this on recording on YouTube and LinkedIn. So some people might be pinging you also that please can you answer this?
Definitely.
So feel free to
Definitely.
accept or reject their request depending on your free time.
No, no. See, again, that's what I'm saying. People are always ready to help you. You just need to reach out.
Now you will see a lot of people reaching out to you.
More than happy.
Okay, then. Ashi.
No one
Take
should
care.
make the same mistakes. You should learn from others' mistakes.
Sure, sure, sure. Have a good day, Ashi. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, you too. Bye-bye.